back to Repad Stories. I'm really excited to be here in Antigua, and today we're going to be talking to Gillian Derrick, and she's going to tell us about life growing up in Antigua, in Canada, and also being back here. She was in Canada for a while, and I'm really excited to hear her story. Thank you for your time, Gillian.
Oh, you're welcome. I love stories. I love stories.
Yeah, and I think storytelling is really important, and personal histories are really important.
Yeah,
So
I
I feel like we don't get enough time to document, and so
I
thanks for being willing to share. So as you know, we have three typical sort of sections. So first is formative years at home, and for you that's Antigua,
Right.
and then time away, and then being back home. So to start, could you tell us about growing up in Antigua, please?
It was a long time ago. That it was. So it was nothing compared to what they have now. But it was, I would say, an idyllic childhood where I grew up. I had a mom, a dad, a grandmother, and I'm the fourth of 5 children. So I had my team to play with. I didn't need extras. But I was really fortunate because we were able, where we lived, we were able to play with our cousins as well. My mom's sister lived down the hill. My mom's brother lived next door to us. So I grew up in a really, really tight family unit. And we were just constantly up and down the hill. There were friends who lived further down the hill, cousins that lived further down the hill, and we were just constantly all over that hill playing. It was probably about 12 of us, and varying ages, and it was just, as I said, idyllic.
Yeah, that must have been really amazing. I think having cousins and friends nearby and just being able to and play a sport. You could play a team sport with 2 teams with 12.
You could. So we didn't do the team sports stuff because the age differences were so vast.
Okay.
But my cousin and friends, they had horses, and so we would ride the horses, and we would go down. There was a beach, a bay close to where we live, and an old barge had got stuck there, and it was partly rotted, but we would just get a piece of nylon and a fish hook, and we would fish off the side of the barge, and so 4 of us would probably go down there. There was also along the shoreline there was other bays. You could walk along the shoreline. It was a stony, rocky corner. You go around that, and there were other bays that we would just be all over the place, and it wasn't as populated as it is now.
I see.
So when we were on the hill, our parents never wondered about vehicles traveling on the hill, or if anybody was going to interfere with the children. There was nobody there. It was just us, so we just roamed.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, there was cherries and cherry season, and tamarind season, and there was just stuff, always stuff to do, and we were pretty much always outside.
That sounds
Always.
perfect. And it's one of the challenging things about development. As your population increases, you need more development, but then you lose some of that. There's
Sure.
just,
For sure.
So your family at some point moved away to Canada. What was the impetus for that, and how was that change for you?
Okay. So we, as I said, grew up here, and my brother went off to boarding school at 10. That's my oldest brother. My oldest brother is 5 years older than I am. So I was still very much in primary school when he went off. But as the younger ones got close to teenage years, or were in teenage years, and then we would have to be writing our exams and going off to university, my dad just figured that, look, I have 5 children. I want to give them the best opportunity to study, learn a trade, do whatever. And he thought the best thing would be to move us. And 2 of his brothers were already Canadian citizens.
Okay.
So one of them sponsored us, and he just moved the family up there so that we could finish high school and then do anything else that we wanted to do.
So you left when you were in 5th form, I believe. 4th form,
fourth,
sorry.
yeah.
4th. And so was that a particularly challenging transition for you, or not really?
Oh, it was hugely challenging, because prior to that, I had never left Antigua.
Okay.
In fact, myself and my younger sister hadn't.
Okay.
The others had, but my turn hadn't come up yet, I guess. So it was really an eye-opener. One, I was moving to a big city. I hadn't even gone to another island. And my high school in Toronto was, I think, about 1,200 kids. I was accustomed to a school that had maybe 300. So those were big, big changes. The supermarkets, I'm accustomed to a little supermarket that you can stand from one end and look at the other end and see a mom. You're in a supermarket where you go around the corner and you're looking, is your mom there? Where did my mom go to? Kind of. So those size was very, very challenging. And also the school. The school I went to was not in a very mixed neighborhood.
Okay.
And a lot of the kids that went there did not have the exposure that I would have had. So they would ask really silly questions like, do you live in trees? And my response would be, I never said anything, but in my head I'm like, what kind of stupid question? Anyhow, you did whatever you had to do. So you were dealing a lot with that because they're not accustomed to dealing with outsiders, if you will. The high school I went to, a lot of the kids went to primary school together. They started daycare together, and it was a community kind of thing. So I was the odd person out.
Even in Toronto?
Even in Toronto. I grew up in a very WASP neighborhood. And the school, fortunately, was a semestered school.
Okay.
Which meant in Antigua, you deal with 3 terms. In a semestered school, you have basically 2 terms. September to December, and then January to June. What that meant was you would have other kids coming from outside of the community to finish up grade 12 and 13. And so when you got to those grades, you were mingling with other people who had other exposures. But the younger grades, it really was a lot of people who had grown up in the same community. Which, I mean, was fine. I can't say that I came across a lot of racism or any of that kind of thing. But it just made it very, very different.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so, do you, I don't know if you mind me asking, but in terms of, for example, for someone who's darker skinned, do you feel like it might have been a harder or about the same of a transition?
I think it would be the same type of transition. So when we moved into that community. However, as I said, semestered school, we had kids that came from outside that community who were darker skinned. Most of them, fortunately, were West Indians.
Yeah.
So you had that connection.
Okay.
And I never heard of them having any issues or anybody speaking about them. So I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I think that was the school I went to.
Okay.
I think other schools were in rougher neighborhoods, and I could see that being more challenging.
Okay. All right. And so as your family's assimilating and you're assimilating and you finish high school, what's happening for you? Are you immediately looking to university or work?
Yeah, when I was finished high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I said, all right, I'll go to college. My dad moved us for education. So that, of course, is going to be a huge focus. So I decided to go to college, and I studied marketing. And by the end of the 3 years, I thought, marketing is just not my thing. I just feel like, and this is going to sound so awful, but I just feel like marketing's lying to people about a lot of stuff. You're trying to convince stuff to to buy stuff that they may not need, or, you get my point.
Yeah,
so I knew that wasn't going to be the area I was going to stay in, but I did go and work a little. Not, I think it was more sales type stuff I did at that point.
Okay.
And then I decided to go back to school because at that point NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, was coming
Okay.
in, and that made a big, big difference in Canada compared to the US. Although the land mass in Canada is big, people-wise, it's small. Populations
Okay,
are
yeah.
small.
Which is why they've undertaken program over these years to increase.
Right. Yeah. So what happened at that point, you had a lot of, so the North American Free Trade Agreement was Canada, Mexico, and the US.
Okay.
They formed this trade bloc. And it meant that, US companies could come into Canada more easily.
Okay.
And of course, it's going to be the US driving all of this. And so a lot of Canadian companies were being merged and people were losing jobs. And it was just an awkward transition, having these pressures that hadn't been there before, now coming into vogue and having to deal with that. So I decided to go back to school, and I did. I did a communication program, corporate communication, and after that, I went again and I worked for a bit.
Yeah.
In the field, I did do some of that work in the field. And
How was that for you? Did you enjoy it or not really?
I enjoyed some of it.
Okay.
Of course, you don't enjoy 100%. It's rare to enjoy 100%. I think, so I had to determine, did I want to stay in the corporate world or work with smaller companies? And most of my work to that point had been in the corporate world.
Okay.
And I decided I didn't want to do the corporate world. They just had these unknown rules. And it just felt like an odd fit for me.
Okay.
And so that makes me think of when my son was going to be born and the doctor decided that baby needed to come now because she was
out
going away for 2
on
weeks
vacation.
vacation. And yeah, it's that kind of thing where you have to fit into somebody else's agenda. And that just felt like an awkward thing to do. So
That's very interesting. My mom had the very same experience. And it's strange how they do. I don't know if that happens so much now. Because I don't know, I feel like now women, even if we don't truly have the agency, we at least think we can speak up about it.
well, to be honest, at that point I was 2 weeks late.
Okay.
And
To
she
be fair.
decided that, to be fair to her, she decided that that baby, I wanted to birth that baby. And it needed to be born now because she had 3 days and then she was going to be gone for 2 weeks. And it happened really, really quickly. Like she decided, okay, you're going to be admitted tonight. And somehow over the next 3 weeks, that baby was going to be born. Okay. So that's what happened.
Yeah. I want to come back to that. Just a moment, though. I want to. No, I think it's very fascinating, and especially in developed countries. But I do want to pause. I want to go back a little bit too. You told me that you did when the economy sort of changed because of this free trade agreement, that you did sort of work odd jobs. What did that feel like for you? Did it feel like just doing what you had to do? Was it exciting for you because it kind of forced you to be different, or what did it feel like?
It felt scary.
Okay.
It felt scary. It felt, there was an element of excitement there. There was an element of wanting security that just was not what you could see. I guess it's sort of similar to what's happening now. That sense of security and sense of, every day is going to be relatively like this. It just wasn't there. And you did have to do what you needed to do because you had to live. You had to pay rent, you had to eat. You have to survive.
But do you think that coincidence, like, do you have any memories or ideas about how your parents, for example, would have felt because you move away from a small island and you come to a developed country, and these things happen, but you just happen to come at a time. You've more or less settled now. It's been a few years, but you come at a time where there's growth, what would you call it? It's not turmoil, but it's a major change in.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
economy has changed
Yeah.
a lot. You know, I think my parents would have thought the way we did.
Okay.
You do what you need to do. Because my mom, so my dad never actually moved and lived in Canada.
Okay.
Because he needed to be here to take care of the business. But my mom did. And when my mom was doing that, she'd be doing that in her 40s. And so she did what she needed to do in order to take care of her family. And so I think that's very much
Yeah.
part of that experience moving,
Yeah.
people who immigrate to a different
Yeah.
country. And so I think for her that would be like, okay, good.
Yeah.
But you got to keep pushing, you got to keep trying, you got to keep hope,
Yeah.
keep doing that next thing.
Absolutely. And do you think, last question, I'm just curious, do you think, how much of that do you think was characteristic of you being from a small island? We do go and we do well, and how much do you think was like just Derek family determination?
That's a good question. I think it's probably a mixture of both. I do think that. So my mom is not originally from Antigua. She was from Guyana.
Guyana.
She was born in Guyana. So she moved here when she was 16. So she had already gone through a migration to a different
Okay.
country. So I think there was some of that in there. And then some of it just being a Derek thing, because Derek's can be kind of stubborn. But, you know, so my parents had to put up with the older generation not thinking it was a great idea to move us.
Okay.
And I know this because my great aunt, when I came back on one of our vacations, said to me that, you know, I thought your parents were making a big mistake in moving you guys, because they didn't move part, they moved us all as one unit. And they thought, she told me that she thought it was a huge mistake moving us, but having met us again and spoken with us, she thought it was the right decision to do. And she actually said and told them that, you know, you did the right thing.
Yeah.
You made the right choice.
Yeah, and
So-
I imagine if she had made that known, it might have felt very validating for them, because sometimes it's hard when you think you're making the best decision for your family, and your family's looking at you like, what are you doing?
Are you crazy?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, especially when
Yeah.
children are involved. And
Sure.
we can't appreciate that when we're little, but when we get older.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you mentioned, you know, coming back on vacation. Was it that you were returning often in that time, or every now and then?
No, it would be, I think the first time I came back was probably about 4 years after we moved.
Okay, so after finishing uni, or
No,
you
that
were
would've been
still
high
in
school.
high school. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, understood. Okay, and so you're now sort of working, and then we're coming towards your son now.
Yeah.
So we're approaching you. You have a partner, and you're living with your partner, and you have a baby. And then what's happening at that time?
So huge shifts in thinking.
Okay.
Once I decided to be a mom and I had my son, the focus now is not developing me. The focus is making as secure a home for my son to be raised in as I could possibly do it. And I felt, when I thought about my growing up and seeing other kids growing up, because part of what I did was I tutored.
Okay.
I was connected with this, I guess, a community group,
Okay.
Harambe, and I used to tutor children that went there for after-school classes. So I had some exposure to these kids. Some of them were latchkey kids. They come home and parents not there. They've got their key. They go in. They do what they have to. I didn't want that for my son. And I also wanted my son to know his family. Because getting back to what you said in the beginning about knowing your roots, knowing where you're coming from, I wanted him to have that. I knew that. I was secure in that. And so I felt that I did not want to raise him in a big country. When you live in large countries and you have children, and you live in a city in particular, having a vehicle is expensive. It's an expense. And I worked downtown, so you'd have to get the child out of bed really early in wintertime and be heading out to carry them to daycare. So you'd be moving on the bus with a baby at 6 o'clock in the morning to drop them wherever, and then go to your workplace and you do your day of work, and then you finish that and you do everything in the reverse. And then you have to fit grocery shopping in there and, you know, all those other things that you have to do. So I thought, I don't really want to do that up there. And I made the decision that I wanted to move back to the Caribbean. Now, my partner at the time, he was from St. Vincent. So I said, all right, well, let's go to St. Vincent. Okay. But on the way to St. Vincent, we came to Antigua. And because I wanted my son to know the family, my mom, my dad.
So at this point, your mom's back home for good?
Yeah, my mom.
When
yeah,
did she
my mom was
decide
only
to-
there. My mom was only in Canada for about 7 years.
Basically to get you through school?
Yeah, yeah. Once the last kid was in university, my mom said, "Okay, time to head back home."
Was that
Right.
hard for you guys?
I don't think so. Certainly not for me, because at that point you can call more often.
Yeah.
Things weren't as expensive to keep in contact.
Yeah.
And, you know, we pretty much been operating on our own. So my dad, in the years that my mom was there, he would come up for a month at a time, and he would come 3 times a year. So we were accustomed to that. My mom, she was there, she took care of the home, but we also did our own.
Yeah.
We helped with
I
it.
realized
We-
clearly you were all just very independent and raised to
Yeah.
be that way, and
Yeah.
raised to be able to go out when you needed to go out.
Sure.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, so you know make this stop in Antigua, and you're here with your, at the time he was 2 months old, you said, when you got here?
3.
3.
He had just turned 3 months
Just
old.
turned 3 months. You have a little bitty
Yeah.
boy, and you're home. What does that feel like to finally sort of be here for a while?
So initially it was supposed to be weeks.
Okay.
And after about 2 years, I realized that St. Vincent thing's not going to happen. So forget about that.
Yeah.
But in that 2 years, it was a huge transition because my mom was already showing major signs of Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay.
And really, it was like it got to the point where it was dealing with 2 children. On the one hand, my son, who was growing and getting better, and by better I mean more independent, yeah, able to talk. And my mom was going in the opposite direction and becoming more childlike. And my poor dad was, you know, kind of stuck with, okay, and I shouldn't say stuck because he never ever felt that at all. He knew when my dad married my mom, he was committed to that and committed to her. And so his view was, okay, this is what happened because my grandmother had gone that way as well.
On your
Alzheimer's.
maternal?
My mom's mom.
Oh.
And so my dad had an idea of what was to come.
Okay.
So his view was, what do I need to do in order to be more at home, to help take care of this? And so that was what his mind was always doing, thinking of that. But I think having got here and seeing what was happening with my mom, I then, and deciding that I was not going to go to St. Vincent, my option was stay here or go back to Canada. And when I looked at my mom and my dad, I thought, you know, in good conscience, I couldn't leave my dad to deal with my mom on his own. I could have, but I would have felt bad. And I could see at that point that I think he was a little depressed because that was his life. And if we left, you know, it would be all going down. So I felt that having my son added a different angle for him. And so, yes, he had to deal with my mom, but then he had to deal with this bright spark who was, you know,
bringing
take his
joy
attention.
and bringing a growing boy, and then
That's
you know,
right.
to sort of alleviate being a primary caregiver,
Right.
and also you being around. And so all your other siblings had stayed in Canada.
No, one was living in the States.
Okay.
2 were living in the States.
Okay.
One was in Canada, and I had a brother who was here.
Okay.
but he wasn't as involved in the day-to-day of the family as I was, because I was living at home.
Yes. Also, women are different.
Yeah, that's true.
Women are different.
That's very true. Yeah.
So you are now helping your dad to care for your mom, and you're raising a boy. And how was it? Did you, at this point, it was you got back in '98, you said?
Yes.
Yes. And so you were away for over 20 years.
Yeah. About 20.
About 20, a little over 20. What were the things you noticed that were different when you got back? Can you remember?
Oh. Let me just correct something too.
Okay.
Before.
Sure.
So I said I had a sister here at the same time.
Okay.
She hadn't moved to the U.S. She moved to the U.S. maybe about 3 years after I moved back.
Okay.
So she helped. My dad and herself helped a lot with the picking up of my son after school. So I had a lot of that support.
Okay.
What were some of the things that I noticed that had changed? A lot more development in St. John's. As a kid, St. John's had families living in it. When I returned, there were no families, very few. I shouldn't say none. Maybe 1 or 2 families living in St. John's. The rest of it was just business. So it would empty at the end of the day and then fill up again the next day. When I was accustomed to St. John's having people walking around and talking and coming visiting and that kind of thing. I also noticed a lot of people were coming back with degrees. A lot of people had gone away to study, coming back home, contributing however they could. What were some of the other things that I noticed? The country just seemed more open to people coming, visiting, more transient. I think that's probably a better word.
Okay.
Like there were more transient populations than when I grew up, when I lived here, because the people that you came in contact with were people that lived here.
And so the family help, at that time you're a single mom. How was it being a single mom, being back, having family help, being back getting accustomed to Antigua again, work? What was it like?
You know, initially, my parents were conservative people.
Okay.
Not super conservative, but they wanted you to be married, have a family, that kind of thing. I went against that. And my initial wonder was, okay, so how accepting are they going to be of me and Johan's my son,
Okay.
and Johan. But they were very warm, very welcoming. That didn't even come up. That was a non-issue. So I quickly learned that that's a non-issue, not to worry about. It was really, really reassuring having that help, having these other moms and dads who could fit in to do a pickup, a drop off, a put to sleep, you know, anything. But so I wasn't great with the church scene.
Okay.
So my sister-in-law at the time decided, okay, so I'm going to take Johan on a Saturday night so that Sunday he can come to church with us and, you know, learn that whole thing. That's what happened. She picked him up. He went to Seaton's. He spent the Sunday with them, and he would come back home.
Oh, I love that.
And so, yeah.
It's a little break for you, and he does get that side of the experience.
And this would never have happened in a big city.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having the Christmas gatherings, having birthday celebrations, it's not as easy to have that in a big country. And that always happens here.
Yeah.
And growing
It's harder
up,
for everybody to localize.
Yep. Growing up, you just take that as a given. It always happens. It's only until you move out and away that you realize that, that's not how a lot of people live. In fact, most people don't have that.
Yeah, it has to be 1 or 2 holidays for the year, or major ones at that time. It still takes considerable effort for everyone to make it out.
Yeah.
So, were you working at the time? Did you immediately have work when you came back?
I started working, I would say 4 months after I came back, because I was still in that waiting to move on period. And then I just finally said, you know what, I can't just sit and not work. And my son's getting older and able to move around more, and he needs to be occupied.
Yes.
So I did go to work. My uncles had the Daily Observer, which was a newspaper, and I went there and I did some editing for them. I think I worked there, I don't know, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so how did you find that work? Obviously, it's something that you could do well, given your degree, given your, experiences, but is it something, what's editing like? Let me ask a former editor, what's editing like?
Challenging.
Yeah.
Very, very challenging.
Because it was all sorts of stories, not just one.
That's right.
Gotcha.
But you're really responsible for making sure that paper starts at page 1 and ends at page
Whatever
20,
it is.
yeah, whatever it is, 20, 25, and it goes consecutively, because there have been times when it hasn't. And then you're making sure that you don't have the same story twice and that sort of thing. So it took a huge effort. By the end of it, I had this check sheet where I checked off things to make sure, I checked the pagination, yes, I checked the stories, yes, I checked to make sure that, and it continue on page 5, that it continued on page 5, and So that was, I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was an interesting job. It required a lot of attention and focus. And then the actual stories themselves, some of them needed heavy editing, some didn't. Because you're dealing with people, some of them are trained reporters, some of them aren't. And so, you help, you do the best you can, given
what you've got.
Yeah. And if you can speak to the person to find out, all right, so what exactly did you mean when you were saying that? Did you mean this or did you mean that? Like, you tell me what it is, and then you just move the story a little, shift it a little to make sure you got what they were trying to get. Because as an editor, you have 2 ways to go. You could either shift the story to go how you think it should go,
right,
or edit the story how the person really wanted it to go. I'm more, this is this person's story. I respect that. I need it to be the best story from his perspective.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I did.
Yeah.
I tried to do.
And I'm curious, would you do literary editing? Did you ever think about that?
You mean like poetry?
Yeah, poetry, books, novels, anything like that. Is that something?
I would if it came to me, but it's not something that I would go looking for, if you understand.
I understand that completely.
Yeah.
I was just curious because I know, it's similar work, but it's a different, a short piece about the local sports event is way different from a 300-page novel that's about, I don't know, a mystery or something. But, just curious.